Hi guys, hope you're having a great day.
Hi guys, Fred and Sheila McCoy, Hatfield McCoy Museum. We are talking about Hatfield McCoy history today.
Right.
This is going to be episode 2 of the videos that we're doing.
2 of 3, yeah.
Concerning a video we were contacted on, or 3 videos, and this will probably be 3 episodes, where we're correcting history, righting wrongs. That's one of our books that we wrote years ago, Sheila and I, along with a Hatfield friend of ours. And righting wrongs, where we went through and we wrote a book about other people's books, where we read them and reviewed them and evaluated them and seen what was true, what was not true, mostly by people that wasn't related to either family, Hatfields or McCoys. I'm actually related to both. And what we're talking about today is a video series that Jack Hatfield had done where he's incorrect on some items, and we're going to correct those items along with showing proof with documentation and evidential, tangible, physical evidence that will prove our point.
Right.
Might as well get started, Sheila.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to our channel, guys.
Hatfields are known on the West Virginia side, but there's actually 2 clans of Hatfields. You have the Hatfields that are on the West Virginia side, which are called the Creek Hatfields, it's Devil Ance's clan, us. And then we have the others, which we call the River Hatfields, and those are the Hatfields that are on the Kentucky side of the river that are considered the peaceful clan.
He's correct on the peaceful clan. Kentucky Hatfields were the peaceful Hatfields. It was Devil Ance and the West Virginia Hatfields that caused all the havoc. But now he refers to the West Virginia Hatfields as the River Hatfields, and the Kentucky Hatfields, or vice versa, the Kentucky Hatfields as the River Hatfields, and the West Virginia Hatfields as the Creek Hatfields. And guys, that's incorrect. I grew up on Blackberry Creek. Preacher Ance Hatfield was from Blackberry Creek. And you had 2 sets. The reason this name come about is, if you're looking right here at Paul Hatfield, that's a friend of mine. He's 4 years old, and he's with his grandpa, Creek Allen Hatfield, and his sister, Aunt Fanny. Creek Allen. See, there was 2 Allen Hatfields on Blackberry during this time. There was Allen Hatfield, Paul's grandfather, and there was Allen Hatfield that was to become the police chief in Make One, West Virginia, and shot 2 men within those 2 years, and he was known as River Allen Hatfield. Now, River Allen lived at Buskirk.
Okay.
He lived on the river, on River Road, as you're going down on the Kentucky side, and he was known as River Allen. Anybody that lived on Blackberry Creek was known as Creek Allen Hatfield. There was River Wall Hatfield that lived on the river. That would have been Allen Hatfield's father, Valentine. Totally different set. The River Hatfields had nothing to do with West Virginia Hatfields. It had to do with River Road there at Buskirk and Creek Hatfields from Blackberry Creek. It was totally, he's got it backwards, and he says that they were known as the River Hatfields on Blackberry. And it just, again, this may seem minute. We discussed this in the first video.
Exactly.
Some items may seem so minute to some people, but any real historian out there, book writer, researcher, they're looking at that and they're thinking, no, that's incorrect. The people on Blackberry was known as Creek Hatfields, and the people down on River Road was known as River Hatfields. That's where that name comes from. But he was right about the Creek Hatfields being the peaceful, or the Kentucky Hatfields being the peaceful bunch.
Okay, here we go.
And
there's River Allen.
He's the one that shot and killed Hubert Bay McCoy, an innocent, unarmed man, shot him in the back of the head and killed him. And McCoy in 1947, and was sentenced to 5 years hard labor. But that's not the story you hear from the family members, but you'll hear about that later on in episode 3, probably.
Okay, that way you could read the bottom of that for just a little bit, and then we'll switch. There is, of course, Preacher Anson Polly.
That's my great-great-grandparents right there.
Mm-hmm.
Their daughter, Nancy Hatfield, married Asa McCoy.
And just see what we got next.
The museum. Go ahead, Sheila.
Here's Preacher Ants, and here's their daughter, Nancy. There's Asa. They married, Asa McCoy married Nancy Hatfield, and they had Philip.
That's my grandfather, and then my mother and father's off
And
to
then
the.
there's Bob and Cora.
And so that's where I come from. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm Hatfield and McCoy.
And here we
It's
go.
this Asa Harmon McCoy when he was killed by the Logan Wildcats. That was in 1865. And then after that, what happened then? We had an industrial boom of commercialism. We had the coal industry. We had the lumber industry trying to feed the people and to reduce the poverty in the region. The coal industry would be bust and boom, bust and boom.
Okay.
Guys, the coal industry didn't. 1865 is when Asa Harmon was killed. The coal industry didn't hit Pike County and southern West Virginia, eastern Kentucky and southern West Virginia till after the Hatfield McCoy feud was over. It didn't hit till in the 1890s, this coal boom he's referring to. During the Hatfield McCoy years, there was no coal boom in that area.
Okay.
Randall McCoy. Let's talk about the pig in 1878. What is the hog story that we know about, and also that led to the legal issues that came?
Well, the hog was a dispute between Randall McCoy and Floyd Hatfield. Floyd was, I haven't done the math and I'm not good with genealogy, but Floyd was even from a whole other side of the Hatfields. He had been like Devil Ance's third cousin, twice removed or something like that. They were so far, apart in relation. But everybody seems to think it was Devil Ance that had the hog dispute. But it was actually Floyd Hatfield.
There's never been anybody that I've ever talked to in all the years, and Sheila and I, that's ever mistaken Devil Ance Hatfield has been the pig thief. It's always been Hog Stealing Floyd. That was his name. That's what he became known as, Hog Stealing Floyd. But let's skip this case here for 1 minute, the 1878 case, and let's look at the one that's on the screen there. This is an actual court document that we have a case of, 1867. Now, you would think if there's a case file for an 1867 hog stealing case between a Hatfield and a McCoy, that one would exist for 1878. There is no case file for the 1878 case where Hog Stealing Floyd stole a pig from Randall McCoy. But on this hog trial here, and you can go to the next paper, show the regular court record, the regular court document.
Okay. This here's Asa.
That's easier to read. There's the whole board.
Yep, we have a whole board on that, and you can come when you come to visit. You can read that. There's little piggy.
Okay. And then there's the court document for Asa Peter McCoy, where he charged 4 men, with stealing 4 of his hogs. Now, at the beginning there was for his translated. You go ahead and let it play one more time to see. It may go straight into it. If it don't, you can stop it.
It'll probably go into the video after this.
Okay, stop it.
Okay.
Okay. So that last document there was the court document, original court document. But if you'll go back to the first one, Sheila's typed it out where you can read it verbatim, word for word, and see it a lot better.
Right.
That's where Ellison Hatfield actually stole 4 pigs from Asa Peter McCoy in 1867. That is an original court document. That's a true, proven fact, and that's evidence.
Right.
Jack talks about that he likes to use court documents. He likes to use evidence, but so far, up to the second video here, and even I'll just go ahead and give you a clue, even all the way to the third video, you'll never see one piece of evidence, one piece of documentation where he can prove anything that he says. Now, they were found guilty, Ellison and 3 of his friends, for stealing those 4 pigs. Now, in a minute here, you're going to see where, well, let's just go ahead and play the video.
Okay, here we go.
It may or may not be true, but I understand that hog was donated to a barn dance, which was to help resolve some of the hostilities between the families. Or did you ever hear that particular?
And I'm glad. Jack said no, he hadn't heard it. And that's great, because that is a myth that come out. I heard that from a little child growing up. And that myth, what he was talking about there, the barn dates, the dance, the pig was donated. And what that supposedly was is this is a made up story, but let's go ahead and put it out there in case you've ever heard it. And if you ever do hear it, you'll know now that it's false. But it's where Randall McCoy and the Hatfields were going to try to make up, and they were having a shindig together. And in the middle of the shindig, they come out, the Hatfields do, and they've got a pig's head. They've roasted a pig, and they've got the pig's head on a platter. And when they walk down through there, the McCoys look, and there's a notch in the pig's ear. And it's a McCoy pig. So the Hatfields are having a celebration for the McCoys, and they're actually serving them their own pig that they had stolen. That's a myth. That never happened, and that's just a story. And Jack didn't confirm that. Jack said he'd never heard that story, which was good, because it is a fabricated, made-up story throughout the years. But we'll go on with the Hog Trial. I think he continues.
Let's see what it says next.
Familiar with is, what we have documented as far as like court trials and things like that. The jury was made up of 6 Hatfields and 6 McCoys.
Yeah.
And then the judge, of course, was a Hatfield. So in that case, that became, the Hatfields won that court case. Because one of the McCoys, who was married to a Hatfield, testified that the hog belonged to the Hatfields.
Now, guys, let's clarify. You can go back and listen to what he says. He says it again later on. One of the McCoys was married to a Hatfield, and he testified. That's not true. That's not true at all. There was only one witness, one person there as a witness for that trial, if there was a trial. Now, let's go back. There is no documentation. There has never been documentation for a hog trial of 1878, where my great-great-grandfather, Preacher Ance Hatfield, supposedly picked 6 Hatfields and 6 McCoys. To this day, there has never been a court case produced stating that. What was you going to show there?
Nothing. I was just getting this ready because we're getting ready to go to this. So
so the rest of those are just pictures. So there is no court case of 1878, but the story has always been that Bill Staten stood up and testified that he'd saw Floyd Hatfield mark that pig's ear. Now, they said he was drunk. They said he was just fooling around, that he was just taking sides to more or less instigate and add on. But Jack says here in his own words that that it was a McCoy that was married to a Hatfield that testified, and that's just spoken in the history. That's not true. There was no McCoy that testified against the McCoys. Go ahead. There was a McCoy, and we'll hear about it in a minute. There's a McCoy that was on the jury, but there was no McCoy that testified. Speak up if you see something there, babe. I don't see what you're pointing at.
No, you see he talks.
And then what happened?
With that particular
Bill Staten. Yeah, he was the witness that stepped up and said that he saw the Hatfield Floyd, mark the pig,
right?
And then they won the case. Then what happened?
Well, they say happy.
Did you see there, guys, how the commentator there, I guess his name's Michael Hatfield. I don't know this Hatfield and know anything about him, but he steps up there and tries to correct Jack and gives the correct name as far as the witness was Bill Staten, if that's who he's talking about. but where he said there was a McCoy witness, and you'll see why I'm talking about this, because later on he talks about the McCoys again killing the McCoy, and it's simply not, that's not history, that's just not fact. And go ahead.
Okay.
Wife, happy life, right? So he was married to a Hatfield, but he was of McCoy descent. So, and you know what kind of, and this gives you a glimpse of what's to come, I guess. But you know, the McCoys ended up hunting him down and killing him for testifying in that Hog Trial that belonged to the Hatfields.
Okay. Guys, there's no need in going through the entire story. He says that Bill was married to a Hatfield. He says that Bill Staten was of McCoy descent, and he says that the McCoys hunted him down and killed him. Bill Staten was killed 2 years after the so-called Hog Trial of 1878. 2 years. Nobody hunted him down. Actually, Sam and Paris McCoy were out squirrel hunting, and Sam come up on him. Shot Paris in the back, and then Sam killed Bill Staten, and that was 2 years later. Nobody hunted nobody down. He was not any kin to the McCoys,
Right.
and Jack says that they killed their own blood. They killed their own family, and that's simply not true. And some of the things what Jack's doing is he's mixing Selkirk McCoy up.
Okay.
Selkirk was actually on the jury. If there was a jury, you got to see that to this date there has still never been no court documents that proves this. But Selkirk was the one of the McCoys that switched over to the Hatfields. He was not married to a Hatfield. Selkirk was married to a Wilson or something. Was it? We don't know, so we won't speculate.
Yeah.
But you can Google Selkirk McCoy genealogy and tell you who his wife was. Wasn't a Hatfield. I think she was a Wilson or
I believe
something,
she
maybe.
was a Williamson.
But wasn't a Hatfield. So the every bit of the last few minutes that Jack has talked about the pig trial, and he's making it up as he goes. And that is really what confuses people doing feud research.
He was saying that they hunted him down and killed their own blood, but actually the McCoys did kill McCoys.
Thank you, babe.
But it
You're
was
right.
during the Pawpaw Tree event.
You know, Jack wants to emphasize that the McCoys killed McCoys. He wants to act like the McCoys were into it with each other. Well, if we want to talk about McCoys killing McCoys, let's talk about the West Virginia McCoys, Selkirk, LD, his two sons, getting online in Kentucky and tying those three McCoy boys, their cousins, up to trees and killing them. There was actually 3 McCoy boys that's on that indictment for, what was it, willful murder?
Willful murder, it says.
And they killed 3 of their cousins. So yes, there was McCoys there, but they were from West Virginia. They worked for Devil Anse Hatfield.
Okay, ready?